Hello, my little mathematicians. We are going to do our study guide on area and perimeter of different shapes. Now, technically, you've already learned all this, so I strongly recommend that you pause the video, try them yourself, then unpause to check yourself. Okay, as always, you're going to be allowed to use a calculator, and you'll be provided the formulas, but you will get points taken off if you don't write out the formula for each shape, and if you don't write down what you plugged in with your calculator. Okay, so again, write out the formula and write down what you plugged in. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So example 1, what shape is this? Hopefully you said it's a parallelogram. What's the formula for area of a parallelogram? It's area equals base times height. So I need to find the base and height. I recommend that you have a highlighter nearby and you look for that little box indicating a right angle, and the two lines it touches is this line and this line. It connects your perpendicular height to your base. Perpendicular means it comes down straight vertically at a right angle. Your height is sometimes inside, sometimes outside, and sometimes one of the edges of your shape. Okay, so it could be inside a dashed line, so not actually part of it, or it could be outside of the shape. It would be dashed, and so again, not used for the perimeter, or it could actually be a part of the shape. But your base is always a part of the shape. And again, look for that little box that connects your height and base. Okay, now you're like, great, you highlighted this line and I don't know its measurement, but this is the same as this because in a parallelogram, opposite sides are parallel. So my base is 7. Opposite sides are parallel and equal. So if this is 7, so is this. Now my height right here is 5. Now that I have those two measurements, 7 times 5 is 35. Area is always squared, so it's feet squared. Again, in order to receive credit and not get points taken off, please write out your area formula for that specific shape, write down the numbers that you plugged in, and then if you need to use a calculator, type it in, and then write your final answer. So it'd be 35 feet squared. Okay, to find your perimeter, the perimeter is the outside edges. So always look for solid lines. Those make up the outside of the figure. This is inside the figure. It's dashed. It's not part of it. So it's 5.2 plus 7 plus another 5.2 plus 7. So you could go 5.2 plus 5.2 plus 7 plus 7. Or you could see that there's 2 7s and 2 5.2s. I don't care if you did 7 plus 7 plus 5.2 plus 5.2, or 7 plus 5.2 plus 7 plus 5.2, or even this. Just so long as I see you're adding those four numbers. Okay, now you can plug it into your calculator. 2 times 7 is 14. 2 times 5.2 is 10.4. And add those together. You get a total of 24.4. And it's singular feet, not squared, just singular feet. Perimeter is always singular units. Area is always the units squared. All right. If you didn't get that one right, here's a chance to redeem yourself. What's this problem? What shape is it? It is a trapezoid. Okay. What's the formula for the area of a trapezoid? They'll be provided, but you need to know what the shape is in order to know what formula to use. Okay. So the formula for area of a trapezoid is base 1 plus base 2 times the height divided by 2. Now, if you did 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times the height, same thing. It doesn't matter. It's just a matter of preference of which one you like. Okay, my two bases, they're always the sides that are parallel to each other. So if you look and I extend these two lines, those are parallel. They'll never intersect. But these two sides, they do intersect. So those can't be the bases. So this and this is your base, your two parallel sides. It's separated by a straight, perfectly perpendicular height of 6. So your height separates your two bases from each other. Okay? So my two bases are 8 and 12. That's why it's base 1 plus base 2. Because these aren't parallel and they're slanted like inward towards each other, then it makes my two bases different lengths. And there's two of them. So 8 plus 12. If you write 12 plus 8, it doesn't matter. 8 plus 12 is 20. 12 plus 8, still 20. Doesn't matter. Okay, your height is 6. What do I need to do first? I need to combine the 8 and 12 to get 20 times 6 over 2. Now you can just type it into your calculator. You can go 20 times 6 equals and then divided by 2, or you could even reduce it if you want. I could reduce this into the 6 or the 20. Pick one. I'm going to pick the 20. And so now 20 divided by 2 is 10. 2 divided by 2 is 1. And so 20 times 6, or 20 times 6, 10 times 6 is 60. And 60 over 1 is just 60. And it was in yards, so it's yards squared for my area. To find your perimeter, you add along the outside. So there, 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 and there. So I have a 6.3 plus a 12 plus another 6.3 plus that 8. There should be 4 sides because it's a quadrilateral, 4-sided figure. So type those into your calculator, add them all together, and you get 32.6 yards. There's your perimeter. Okay, what's this shape? It's a rhombus. It looks like maybe it could be a kite, but my hint that it wasn't a kite is that they only gave me one measurement. And so if it was a kite, they would have needed to have given me at least 2. So it's a rhombus. Rhombus means a slanted square. And so then right here, this measurement, since it's a rhombus, is the same all the way around. So this is 9.2, this is 9.2, and this is 9.2. I'm going to use those when I find the perimeter of this shape. So you could go 9.2 plus 9.2 plus 9.2 plus 9.2, but what's a smarter way? You're adding 9.2 4 times. So you could go 4 times 9.2. Type that into your calculator and you get 36.8, and we were dealing with meters. So my perimeter is 36.8 meters. Now to find my area, yes, a rhombus is a parallelogram, so you could technically go base times height. And so I know the base, but I don't know the height, the perpendicular distance, so I can't do that. So then another formula that they give me is 1/2 diagonal 1 times diagonal 2. Because most of the time, they don't give me the perpendicular height in a rhombus. I don't know why. They give me the diagonals. So let's use those diagonals. This whole length is 14 for that diagonal. This diagonal has a whole length of 12. And don't forget the 1/2 equals A. Again, you could have done diagonal 1 times diagonal 2 divided by 2, because multiplying by 1/2 is the same thing as dividing by 2. It's just a matter of preference of which formula you use. You'll still get the same answer. Okay, when you take half of a number, you could do half of 14 or half of 12. Which one do you want to do? I'm going to pick half of 14. So half of 14, if I multiply that out, I get 7, right? Half of 14 is 7. Now I have 7 times 12, which is 84. Or you could have done 12 times 14 equals and then divided by 2. Whatever, you still get the same answer. Okay, area means it's square units. And the reason for that is because you have meters times meters, and meters times meters is meters squared. When you're adding all the things, like look right here, this is just 4 sides that are each 9.2 meters. So it's just a singular meter. That's why when you add, it just stays singular units. And when you multiply them, it's meters times meters, you get meters squared. So perimeter singular, area is that unit squared. All right, this right here, what shape is that? This one is a kite. And as I said, you need to know at least 2 measurements for the perimeter of a kite, because this will be the same as this. But they're not all 4 equal. You can tell even just by looking at it. This is longer, obviously, but this is the same as this. So 21.5. So when you go to find the perimeter, you have two sides that are both 21.5 and two sides that are both 10.6. So go ahead and type those into your calculator. Okay. So you did 2 times 21.5 and you got 43. Plus you did 2 times 10.6 and you got 21.2. Add those two numbers together and you get P equals 64.2. Is it inches or inches squared? Inches, because it's perimeter. So P is 64.2 inches. Now for the area. The formula for area of a kite, since last time we did 1/2 diagonal 1 times diagonal 2, let's do this version. Diagonal 1 times diagonal 2 divided by 2. Both a rhombus and a kite share the same formula. Okay. One diagonal length is this line. Well, this is 20 and this is 7. So what's the whole diagonal? 27. This one right here says the whole thing is 8. So I'm going to plug in an 8 and then do divided by 2. You can go 27 times 8, hit equals, and then divide that number by 2. Or I like to just reduce first. I can reduce there. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Now I just have to type in 4 times 27. And 4 times 27, when you plug that in, you get 108 inches or inches squared? Inches squared. Okay, so your area is 108 inches squared. If you're getting all these right, congratulations. For this one, it's a triangle, right? What's the formula for area of a triangle? It's area equals 1/2 base times height. Or you could have done base times height divided by 2. Same thing. Now to find your base and height, look for that little box and it connects those two. Okay, same thing with this one. Here is the box and it connects this line to this line. So you can see sometimes the height is inside the figure, so not part of the outside, and sometimes it is part of the outside of the figure. Okay, and so how to help determine that is look for the little box. And if you're like, if it's rotated and it's hard to determine which one's the base and which one's the height, don't fret because you're multiplying them. What's 3 times 4? 12. What's 4 times 3? Still 12. So don't freak out if you can't know which one's the base and which one's the height. It doesn't matter. So long as you multiply the 3 and the 4 and not the 5. Okay, and you're like, well, duh, I wouldn't have needed to. But it is a little bit trickier if, let's say, they decided to draw the figure rotated like this, then a lot of people would say, oh, look, this is the base because it's on the bottom. So it's 5 times, which one's the height? I don't know. Actually, 5 is not the base. Even though it looks like it, they just took this figure and they turned it. And so it's still the same thing. Here's your base and height right there. Okay, so always use that hint of like looking for the little box to indicate your base and height. Sorry for the tangent, but I just wanted to make sure that we were aware of that. Okay. 1/2 base is 3, height is 4. So you have 3 times 4 is 12. Half of 12 is 6 miles squared. Or you could have done half of 4 is 2, and 2 times 3 also 6. So an area of 6 miles squared. Okay, now for my perimeter, you add all along the outside. It's a triangle, so I should add 3 numbers, and there are my 3 numbers along the outside, 3, 4, and 5. So please write down the numbers that you're plugging in. There is no formula for perimeter, but just write down the numbers that you're using. 3 plus 4 is 7. 7 plus 5 is 12. So it's 12 miles. This one, when you do the perimeter, I'm not going to use the 4 at all because it's not along the outside. Only solid lines make up the outside of a figure, which again, not that big a deal in this problem, but let's say I had a triangle like this. Okay, this length would be my height, so I'd use this length when I'm doing base times height divided by 2 for my area. But I wouldn't use whatever this measurement is when dealing with the perimeter. I would use this line, and this line. Okay. So I wouldn't use this when doing the perimeter. Remember, dashed lines are not actually part of the outside of a figure. Only use solid lines when doing perimeter. So for the perimeter, I have 12 plus 6.4 plus 8.1. Type that all into your calculator. What do you get? You should have gotten 26.5 meters. Now, if you're having problems and you're getting like wrong answers and you're like, but I'm typing in the right thing to my calculator, remember that a calculator doesn't have Siri on it. So please don't use your thumbs, okay? Because there's no Siri to autocorrect. Lie it flat, use a pointer finger, and then also hit the clear button in between. Type in what you need to do, okay? So if it was like 5 times 93, okay, whatever, and then hit equal. Write that answer down, then hit clear, type it in one more time, and make sure you get the same answer. Because in case you typed it in incorrectly, you want to make sure that you still get the same answer each time. Just a wise suggestion, because especially if you're allowed calculators, we're not going to give partial points. Make sure you type it in correctly. Take the 2 seconds to double check. Right. Moving back to our problem. We're going to find the area of this triangle. So base times height divided by 2. Again, look for the box. It connects your base to your height. So your base is 12, your height is 4, and you're going to divide by 2. You can go 12 times 4 is 48, and 48 divided by 2 is 24, or you could have reduced. I'm going to reduce these guys. I always like to reduce the bigger number. 2 divided by 2 is 1, 12 divided by 2 is 6, and 6 times 4 is 24, and 24 over 1, still 24. And my unit is meters squared. All right, moving right along. These are called composite shapes, meaning it's made up of at least two different shapes. So it's at least 2 shapes put together to make one larger shape. So what are the 2 shapes that make this one? I have a triangle on top plus this rectangle on the bottom. So my rectangle has a measurement of 3 by 10, and my triangle has a height of 4, and what's this base? Well, this is the same as this, so a base of 3. I find it very wise, write out, draw your separate pictures, and then what's the formula for area of a triangle? Base times height divided by 2. Plus, what's the formula for area of a rectangle? Base times height. So your base is 3, your height is 4, divided by 2. Plus this base is 3, and that height is 10. Okay, simplify this shape. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 divided by 2 is 6. So the area of the triangle is 6. And then for the rectangle, 3 times 10 is 30. Add those 2 shapes together, and you get 36 meters squared for your area. This time, they want it of the shaded region. So right here, this thing is shaded and this is not. So I'm going to find the area of the big one and subtract out the area of that little one, and then it'll give me just the shaded portion that I'm looking for. Okay, so the big one is 14 by 14, and the small one inside is 4 by 4. They're both rectangles. Technically, actually, they're squares, even though this looks like a rectangle. So formula for a square is base times height. 14 by 14 for this one, and 4 by 4 for that one. When you type into your calculator 14 times 14, you get 196, and 4 times 4 is 16. So subtract that, and you get 180 centimeters squared. Okay, for our next one. This time, they're going to give us different pieces of information, and then we have to solve for the missing piece. So I'm dealing with a parallelogram, and am I doing area or perimeter? It says the area is 3.7 square miles, and then they also gave me the base length, and then what is the height? Okay, so area of a parallelogram is base times height. They told me the area is 3.75 miles. The base is 1.5, and I don't know the height, so keep it as a variable. Now 1.5 times what is 3.75? Well, the inverse of multiplying is dividing. So 1.5 divided by 1.5 is 1. 1 times h is just h. And whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. So 3.75 divided by 1.5 is 2.5. Now you found out 1.5 times 2.5 gives you that 3.75. So my height is 2.5. Is it miles or miles squared? Well, the height is measured in just miles, right? Bases, heights, and perimeters are just miles. Only area is miles squared. Okay, number 10 says we're dealing with a kite. It has an area of 5 square feet. One diagonal is 4 feet. We want to know what is the other diagonal. So area of a kite, that would be 1/2 diagonal 1 times diagonal 2. And then plug in what you know. They said, do we know the area? Yeah, the area is 5. Bring down your equals 1/2. One diagonal is 4, and we don't know that second one. So now simplify the right side. 1/2 of 4 is 2. Bring everything else down. So 2 times what is 5? Well, the inverse, to solve for that, the inverse of multiplying is to divide. Whatever you do to one side, do to the other. And we did that because 2 divided by 2 is 1. And 1 times d is just d. Now you got d by itself. Whatever you do to one side, do to the other. 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. So your other diagonal is 2.5, and we were talking about feet. Number 11 says it's a triangular sail that is 15 meters tall. That's the height. If the sail has an area of 8.5 or 82.5 square meters, what is the base? So triangle area. That's base times height divided by 2, or 1/2 base times height, either way. The area, they told me, was 82.5. If you do 1 divided by 2, you figure out that that's the same thing as 0.5. Always take your top divided by your bottom when you have a fraction, and then you can figure out what the fraction is as a decimal. Okay, my base is 15. We don't know the height. So to simplify the right side, 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. Bring down your h equals 82.5. Now 7.5 times what is 82.5? We'll divide by 7.5. Whatever you do to one side, do to the other. 7.5 divided by 7.5 is 1. So you have 1 times h. And on this side, when you do 82.5 divided by 7.5, you get 11. So your height is 11 meters. Okay, finally on this page, our last one says it's a trapezoid with an area of 22 square feet. If the two lengths of its bases are 4 and 7 feet, what is the height of the trapezoid? Okay, so the area of a trapezoid, that formula is 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times the height. Or you could have done base 1 plus base 2 times the height all over 2 if you didn't want the 1/2 in front. Okay, plug in what you know. Area is 22. So I'm going to replace the A with 22. Bring down your equals 1/2. Do I know my bases? Yeah, they told me my two bases are 4 and 7, but we don't know the height. Let's simplify inside the parentheses first. 4 plus 7 is 11. Now you have 22 equals 1/2 times 11h. So simplify, what's half of 11? Or 11 divided by 2? It's 5.5. And 5.5 times what equals 22? Well, to figure that out, divide both sides by 5.5. Whatever you do to one side, you got to do to the other. Now these cancel and become 1, because anything divided by itself is 1, and 1 times h is h. And on this side, 22 divided by 5.5 is 4. So your height was 4 feet for that one. All right, we're almost done. Last page. Now we're going to have to remember how to graph. Remember, when you're graphing, your first point in your ordered pair is X, the second one is Y. Your X always tells you if you go right, if it's positive, or left, if it's negative. Your second point tells you up or down. If it's positive, you go up. If it's negative, you go down. I see a lot of kids make mistakes. I strongly recommend that you do this, that like first one's right or left, second one's up or down. And then for these points, go like, okay, right or left. So positive is right, positive is right, positive is right. This one, positive is right, negative is left, negative is left. And then that just stays. Okay, your second point is up or down. Positive is up, positive is up, positive is up, positive is up. Okay, and second point, positive is up, positive is up, positive is up, positive is up. That doesn't seem like a very big deal, but it helps you a lot to make sure that you move it in the right direction, because sometimes people flip like their X's and Y's. And so they might go like for this point, maybe they'll go up to over 6 instead of over 2 up 6. That totally puts it in the wrong place. So remember, first point is always right or left. Second point is always up or down. And if you kind of draw that little arrow there before you start, it might help make sure you get them right. Okay, this one means you stay where you are. You don't move right or left, and then you go up 4. Done. This one, I'm going to go right 4 and then up 4. Okay, right 2, up 6, and then right 2, up 2. It looks like it could be a square, but like I can't find this diagonal or that, like I can't find diagonal lengths. But if it's a square, I know that I can find the area by going 1/2 diagonal 1 times diagonal 2. And look at what happens when I connect those diagonal lines. Look, they're totally vertical or totally horizontal, which means I can find the distance of them. So this diagonal has a measurement of 1, 2, 3, 4. This diagonal has a measurement of 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that's not always the case. They're not always equal. Okay, I still needed to count them. So now one diagonal is 4. The other diagonal is also 4. And don't forget that there was that 1/2 in front. So you have half of 4, which is 2, times that other 4, which is 8. So you have 8. If they don't tell you the units, you would just write the word units squared. But they told me, hey, each square represents 1 square centimeter. So put centimeters squared. But again, if they didn't specify what it was in, then you would just write the word units if they don't give you a specific unit. All right, my next one. Go ahead and graph this one. You're going to go right 1, up 6, back to your origin, left 4, up 6, left 3, up 2, and then over nothing, up 2. What shape is that? If you were to connect those, is that a parallelogram? No, because this and this, if you were to extend those lines, they'd intersect, right? So there's only one pair of parallel sides, which means it's a trapezoid. And your formula for area of a trapezoid is 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times your height. So you have 1/2. My two bases, those are the parallel sides. So my measurements here of my two bases are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now remember when you're counting the distances, okay, here's wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 1 too many because I started with 1, 2. You can't actually start counting until you move. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If it helps, you can draw little loops. Okay, this has a measurement of 1, 2, 3. So my two bases are 5 and 3. Now my height is the perpendicular distance, so straight up and down. And it doesn't matter. I could have drawn it here or here or here. It's just the straight perpendicular distance that separates your two bases. So what is that? It's 1, 2, 3, 4. So it has a height of 4. Inside parentheses first, let's simplify that. You get 8. Bring everything else down. Now you could go 8 times 4 is 32, and half of 32 is 16, or half of 4 is 2, and 2 times 8 is 16, or half of 8 is 4, and 4 times 4 is 16. Do you see how I did it out of order in either way? Once it's all just multiplying, you can do them in any order, because 2 times 3 is the same as 3 times 2, right? You can flip things. Okay, so no matter what, you ended with an area of 16, and it says each box represents a centimeter, so it's centimeters squared. Okay, definitely, please, if you haven't, try these ones first. Pause the video, try them. Now you unpaused it, you're back with us. Hopefully you did that recommendation of saying, okay, right or left? Right, 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 left. Up or down, they're all positive, so up, 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 up. These ones, right or left? Left, right, left, right. Positives are always to the right, negatives are always to the left. And then this is up or down, positives are up. If they were negative, you would go down that many from your origin. Okay, let's go ahead and graph these. I'm going to go right 4, up 5. Right 5, up 1, 2, 3. Right 4, up 1. Hopefully those arrows help. Okay, and then from your origin, left 1, up 1, 2, 3. And when I connect those, what does that look like? Not trapezoid. Hopefully you said a kite. And a kite, you would never be asked to find the perimeter of this because you can't count, you'd have to be given the information, and you can't find this distance or this distance. So they'd only ask you for the area because you can find your diagonal lengths because it's totally horizontal or totally vertical. What's this diagonal? 1, 2, 3, 4. And what's this diagonal? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So your formula is 1/2 diagonal 1 times diagonal 2. So plug in what you know. One diagonal was 4, the other diagonal was 6. So now half of 4 is 2, and 2 times 6 is 12. They said each box represents a centimeter, so centimeters squared. If they said each box represents a foot, then it would be feet squared. Okay, last one. Left 4, up nothing. So right there on the axis. Right 1, up nothing. Get back to your origin. Left 2, up 2. And then finally, right 3, up 2. All right, now I have all my points plotted, so go ahead and connect them. And what is that shape? That's a parallelogram. So your formula for area of a parallelogram is base times height. So I need to know the base, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And your height, that perpendicular distance that separates one base from the other. So what is that? 1, 2. And 5 times 2 is 10. They said each box represents a centimeter, so 10 centimeters squared for your area. Congratulations if you got all those right. If not, try similar problems to the ones that you missed in the extra practice pages in your packet. Congratulations, my little mathematicians. You learned so much about shapes.